he get the ladies. You know what I'm saying? My dog is a ladies man. So
he get the business. He get the business.
They challenge him. You know what I'm saying? Other males want to see what he about, and then it turn into something I don't want it to be. So me and him, we just on days like this, we go to the farm, be in isolation.
I get it. Hey, so like we ain't trust me. We not being disrespectful over here. We just talking about female dogs in the literal sense. You know, it's nothing personal over here, big dog. You know what I'm saying? We just talking about our pups, man. Well, first of all, before I ask how you doing, let's get this formal introduction out of the way, right? So, we got the cool cat joining us, right? Most of y'all who are plugged into the DMV, the Washington football community are already familiar with Lake Lewis, but I do want to officially welcome Lake to the Trap or Dive podcast. Before we get started, you can find Lake Lewis's work on thesportsjourney.com, who he's also the owner of. And then you can hear his thoughts and opinions on his own podcast, the After Practice Podcast, which is available on all podcast platforms, or is it just Apple Podcasts right now?
Nah, it's all of them. Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, it's there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Lake, how are you doing, my brother? You joined us at the perfect time. We just getting started. How you feeling, boss man?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Look, I can't complain, man. Like Dre was talking about this. It was an 80-degree day outside. I'll tell you one thing. When I woke up this morning, matter of fact, no, 6 o'clock this afternoon when I clocked out, I'm like, bruh, it's hot as hell in my house. It's unusually hot. So I'm sitting here looking through my ADT app. I'm like, something's got to change. I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and get ready for the show. Let me turn the air conditioning up. And so when I'm doing that, I see that it's 76 degrees in my house. 70 degrees, 75 degrees in my house. I said, this can't cut it. This cannot cut it. I'm be sweating bullets. I'm gonna have lip sweat. That's annoying. You know, I don't have no hand rag near me, man. So I can't complain, man, at all, bro. At all.
Nah, it definitely was a hot day out there today, and I had my second COVID shot today, so.
Oh no!
Yeah,
well, I mean,
man.
good, but yeah, exactly. That's where I was getting.
I mean, I'm a little sore, but I think it's mental stuff, man. I think if you accept that you're gonna be in some pain and feeling crazy, you're gonna feel that way.
Right.
So I'm not gonna lie though, I'm a little tired, but it's also because it's getting late.
Yes,
that's what that is.
That's very important. All right, so you know what I'm saying. Look, we ain't gonna keep you up too long, you know. But I do want to make you aware of this if you are not aware, right? The fan base of Twitter, on Twitter, for whatever their reasons are, you know, they have their favorite beat reporters and stuff like that. I will tell you this: you are consistently brought up as one of the favorite beat reporters on Twitter. You like recently, I know we used to interact a while ago, but recently you haven't tweeted often, but in general, when people tweet or when people see your tweets and hear your thoughts and opinions and stuff like that, they're all ears. Like every single time that you talk, they're all ears. Do you pick up on that when you're reporting and interact or simply interacting with the fan base, that they're listening to you?
I do. I do, and I appreciate it actually. I put a lot of work into being consistent as far as what I put out. And one thing that I also try to stay consistent is to just not talk to talk. So I've had to back away from social media a little bit because it started to just be too much. And I had DMs, and I mean, game day is crazy. I had people asking me final score, who's doing this, and I'm like, I don't work for FanDuel or DraftKings or anything like that. So I just, I had to tell myself to lay off a little bit. But come Thursday night, I will be back in the mix. And, things that I hear that's about to happen, I'll be able to converse with that stuff. But yeah, I just think sometimes you get to a point where you are people tweeting to be seen for themselves, or like what's the end result? My end result is I put news out that I feel like is pertinent to the fan base. But I know so much stuff. I mean, I have guys coming to my house for dinner. I'm not tweeting that stuff out for people to see. That's not necessary.
For sure. Disco, what's going on, boss man? Dre, Disco said was good, and obviously, Disco mentioned, Lake He respects your work as well. I'm not sure if you interacted with
Appreciate
Disco.
that.
Yeah, Disco on Twitter a few times
Absolutely. I
probably.
sure
But
did,
yeah,
my
hey
dude.
Disco, if you got any questions in chat, if y'all have any questions for Lake, go ahead and shoot them out. We'll get to y'all questions as soon as we can. But yes, shoot them in the chat. We'll definitely get them out there. Lake, I actually I have a follow up before I even ask my next question. How has the break from social media even treated you? Because I know like a lot of people talk about like social media cleansers, right? Because that shit can be really toxic. It can be toxic. People can be out there for the wrong reasons, and it's not. It don't matter how much we try to say like something is not our business, because it's not. Like we truthfully don't care. But sometimes the thought creeps into your head, like what is your motive? Like what exactly are you doing out there? And sometimes it gets out there. But how has the break from social media treated you in terms of like a healthy mental capacity? Like that's been good for you, I'd imagine.
Oh man, you have no idea how good it's been. And it wasn't to slight, people who've been supportive of me over the years, because I'm appreciative of that. And I haven't gone anywhere, but I have to put a little bit more effort back into my business. Sportsjourney.com it's not just Washington. And I made a conscious effort to not flood the site with Washington, football news, specifically because I have great people doing other work. I have Karita Parks covers the Washington Wizards and the Mystics, and she's doing a great job with her podcast. That she has with Candace and some of the other girls. So I have Bob Matthews who's covering the Capitals for me. So I need to get their stuff to come to the forefront. Just so people can see that we're a diverse group, we're well rounded, and it wasn't a Washington football team site. And I think the message has kind of sunk in a little bit to some people, because I've had a lot of people say, "You all right? You good? You're not sick or nothing." And I'm like, "Nah, man, I lost weight willingly, working hard to lose it." But there's a time and place for everything, and obviously now with the draft being here, football is going to start coming back. So yeah, you'll start seeing a lot more of my stuff. But I got a couple other announcements I'm making too coming up real soon that I'm really, really excited about, and one of them does have something to do with FanDuel. So we'll talk about that in a little bit.
All right. Hey, I like the little hint to the plug. I get it, man. I love it, bro. I love it, and I'm glad you're doing well. And I'm glad everything is good on your end. So obviously, like I said before, like this is when we spoke. A lot of people want to get straight to the football talk, obviously, because you're a beat reporter, and that's fine. But I think one of the casual mistakes, especially people that interact with you all the time, sometimes like they just don't know the people that they're talking to. So I felt like this was kind of like that angle that we can try and get at and speak towards when we have you on the show, Lake. And obviously, like my next question leads to that. What led you to becoming a sports journalist and a beat reporter? I don't know if it was like your goal to be Washington football, like in this area, but just in general, what led you down to the route that you are at now?
Well, sports has been part of my life from day one. I played football and basketball. I think I was a better football player than I was basketball, truthfully. But ironically, wide receiver. I was wide receiver on offense, safety on defense. So, but let's just say this, I had an opportunity to go to Penn State's football camp, and did really well, and heard some talk about getting looked at and things like that. But when I saw the size of them jokers, man, I was like, I might have to opt for the other sport. And ironically, I ended up going to Penn State and playing ball. So, it just, it always stayed with me. But while I was at Penn State, literally, I was walking on for basketball, and I had one of those crossroad moments. Just so happened to be that they were looking for some students to do sports reads at the student ran radio station, just nightly reads, give sports updates. And I date you guys quite a bit, so this was before cell phones and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
hey, look, I was around, man. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Depending on what year, 93 I was born, so I was around.
Oh man, that's when I was in college, man. So you know what I'm saying? So I literally I signed up to do that, and this crossroad moments presented itself to me, and I'm forever grateful for it. The owner of the station, guy Dave Dombrowski, came up and mentioned that he's really looking for an underclassman to work with his two seniors who were calling the football games, play by play and basketball. And he was like, but you can't do that because basketball. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I can do that. And I don't have to play basketball because at the end of the day, I didn't have aspirations of going to the pros everybody thinks that, but you got to be realistic at some point.
Yeah.
For me, it was just to basically help me in college, get to college. And so I always wanted to be in sports media. And that was my moment right there where I had to make the decision. I remember talking with my parents, and my mother was like, it's a no-brainer. My father was like, well, you still can hoop if you want. Like, nah, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I took that spot. And then a year later, they named me the student sports director of the station and the play-by-play voice for Penn State football as a student. And I did that. And ever since then, man, I've just had opportunities present themselves and feel real blessed. But a lot of it's hard work. And I say this all the time as a black man, I didn't have a mentor in this business at all. So now that I have the opportunity now with my format and forum that I have, I appreciate, all the fans and things like that. But I don't look at people as fans. I look at them as my friends, my supporters. I've always told myself I'm going to be able to, help, anybody that reaches out to me. And I think you can poll people, you can ask them. I've gotten back to just about everyone who's ever said something to me on social media. Yep. That's just, something I'm trying to do right now.
So, one of my next questions had actually to do with, it's not literally the in your field having a mentor and things like that. It just struck something in me because, like, I've seen you at some of the places that I was allowed to with my media access, and things like that, and I've been able to talk to certain people and things like that, and have that opportunity to connect with some people. But to that degree, in my personal experience, the hardest thing that I've experienced was trying to get those connections with certain people, because some people just want certain, like, I'm the non-traditional route. I did fucking,
Me too.
I did business management or business administration in college. I went to UMUC grad school. I did Homeland Security Management. I'm still finding a way in this thing, right? But I'm not getting as far because certain people is like, bro, who have you worked for type shit. I've worked with plenty of people, but it's not the people that they want. My point being,
and it's not. Yeah, it's. I not to cut you off, but I love hearing people say this, because your route is my route, because I didn't go straight from Penn State to the ESPNs of the world. No, I had, a job as a pharmaceutical researcher.
Wow.
I had other jobs, but I still held on to my dream. And then finally, it's just like things just laid itself out for me, like, perfectly, to get back in the door. And then from that point on, I was in the door for 7-8 years as a drive time radio host on ESPN Radio. I was doing my daily shows from ESPN Club at Disney World. And ironically, it was the Dwight Howards and Keon Doolings of the world that told me, man, you're making the station a lot of money. You might want to consider doing this for yourself. And that's when I decided I'm going to do this for myself. And that was a very unconventional route, so much so that, I got some family that's not family anymore because they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's the thing where, again, with us, and not to make this about race, but it's true, with us as Black people, a lot of times we don't see a blueprint on how you run a business. We don't see a lot of these things. And some people just get comfortable and say, I'm going to stay in my space and not take risk. Well, that's just not me, man. I am the biggest risk taker you ever gonna find. You never gonna know how far you can go unless you take some risk, and you got to sacrifice some things along the way too. I've done that as well. So it's not an easy road, but if this is what you want, your hustle will get you there.
For sure. So what is, trust me, for everybody who's here live, we are getting into Washington football talk, okay? we're getting there. But what was one of the toughest things that you had to, face when you were coming up in the journalism field? I know you mentioned earlier obviously the mentor part, and then obviously trying to have the right direction when there is no direction from from the place that you're coming from. But what is one of the toughest parts that you had coming up from Dakota? Watch out, coming up in the journalism field.
I mean, it's been several things. I mean, you didn't have right look. You weren't the right look. you know, I've had it, man. I mean, I've had somebody to tell me if they're watching, shame on you because this is my trademark. But I had people tell me I can't have a beard. I need to be clean shaven. And I'm like, look, we can grow nice beards too. Give us a chance.
Right.
And so you guys have known this has been my thing for like the last 4 years. And I cut it off recently and almost got sick, man. I could not believe I did it. So I was like, I'll never do that again. But it's just little subtle things like that you hear, where you're being told that you don't fit the description. And the problem I've always had with that, but the description that we cover is me. So don't you want to have a little bit more representation of someone that may be able to talk to guys in a different capacity?
Exactly.
Somebody that does have a background of playing themselves. There's a different approach you take in the locker room when you have all those things working for you in your favor. And there's no coincidence that a lot of the guys on this team, have taken to that. So, that's just me. That's just the way I try to do things. I don't put microphones in people's faces and stuff like that. That's not my style. My thing is, this isn't to be cocky or anything like that. You guys know me. I'm not like that. But my thing is, I don't need to put a microphone in the guy's face because that guy could call me on the phone. I already know the information. Yeah. It's just different approaches. Works for different people. So everybody doesn't have to have the same style. And, so that's one of the things that, we try to separate ourselves with.
Hey, as Maul was mentioning earlier, man, a lot of us are big fans of your work. You've always kept it professional and everything, man. So we always love following you. But with that said, I did want to get into a little bit of Washington football talk, specifically with Ron Rivera, and the new staff and everything. I know you probably haven't been able to be around the building too much with the COVID protocols and all, but I'm sure you covered the Jay Gruden era. What's the noticeable difference so far with the culture that you've noticed with this new regime as you're covering the team?
That's a super easy question, and it's professionalism. You guys know that at one point I was a Jay guy. I was a guy that was trying to defend him, that I thought he was good for the team at the time.
There's a lot of us.
But then when they needed, but when they needed to take that next step is all about being professional. It's about your preparation for games. They didn't have that, and that fell back on him. When you have God nipple pinching you and stuff like that, that's not. Can you imagine somebody doing that to Ron?
Right? No,
they might be banging out there on the field if they did that. I mean, seriously, So that's what I'm talking about. There has to be a hierarchy to things, and it has to be a respectful hierarchy, not just. Not like how when Shanahan was here, he was the coach. He was more like a paranoid coach. Everything had to go his way because he was paranoid. Yep. But Ron Rivera's a people person. He's been upfront with us from day one. Hell, his first couple of days he got here, he started following me on social media. And I was like, wow, no coach ever does that. But he wants to be in the know. He wants to know what's being said about them. He wants to know who's angling things differently. So it's just professionalism. Their preparation is like night and day, and that starts with him.
So and it's been a year, right? So I'm not even gonna hold you to this grade. So it's gonna be a forever evolving thing as you get more information, right? But to this point, how would you grade his progress in terms of like developing and shaping the culture to his extent? And what grade would you give him, and why is that?
It's the best. This is the best setup I've covered here in 10 years, and it's not even close, frankly. I mean, in the pudding. I mean, this team made the playoffs, and I don't care when everyone says, it was a terrible division. Somebody had to win it, and still, if I told you before last year started the NFC East was going to be down, it was going to be terrible, most people would assume that Washington would have been the mud of the division regardless. They would have been the worst team. Well, for them to not just win the division, but overcome all the adversity that they had to come with at that quarterback spot. You know, Alex Smith not being able to play because of injury. When he did play, he was a shell of himself. He couldn't move. Dwayne Haskins he was never an NFL quarterback at any point. And then Kyle Allen comes in, he gets hurt. Taylor Heineke comes in the playoff game and makes you say, wow, if this guy, had played earlier, maybe this offense could have done some things. So, you just look back at all these different things, and it's all a reflection of the coach and how you handle stuff. He was dealing with cancer himself during this season, overcame that. And, when players see you do things like that, they play for you. So that's what I think this was the first time we saw that in a long time. So the grade, I would say, for me, I had graded them last year at an 88. And, literally I had a number. It was an 88. Somebody said, well, I'm not 90. Nah, man, you get an A, you got to have a winning record. 88.2. And you're going to have done something in the playoffs. Yeah, so they were an 88 and going up, though. But the year before, their grade to me literally was a 64. That's a big jump, man. Yeah. It's a huge jump. I expect for them to teeter around 90 this year. I still think that they're several pieces away, but they're not so far away that they can't make the playoffs. They should make the playoffs again this year, and this time they might get somebody in the playoffs. So I think that's like a 90 grade, but once you start talking 94, 95, I mean, that's reserved for that's a team that's expected to do something. The Buccaneers coming to the season at a 98.5. I mean, come on, man. Yeah,
So, in your opinion, because we're going to go ahead and shift to the draft here. In your opinion, how big is the upcoming draft for Rivera and his newly formed staff? Obviously, there's quite a few new faces around, and he has about 3 or 4 heads with him that's collectively working together to give him the best information possible. But with his staff that he's formed, how important is this first draft for him? Or first draft,
second
quote
draft.
Unquote. Yeah, second draft.
Yeah. No, it's very important. I mean, anytime you have your draft, you want to hit on your players. They're going to start finding out that, and this is good for the fan base. So anyone who's listening right now that's a fan or watching, you want to be picking as low as possible in the first round, because that means you had success that season, the previous season. So when you start picking at 19 and 20 and 21,
Uh, all right, 1 second, y'all. I got y'all. I'm about to go ahead and try and rework that. Matter of fact, give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds, y'all. All right, so look. Yep. Hey, it's everything. Yeah, everything's cool. So what I'm about to do is we're about to restart the Skype call. So I'll be back in literally. It'll be two seconds. So give us 2 seconds, and we'll be right back with a new call, and everything will be straight down.
Okay, yeah. So no, like I said, with the whole draft thing coming up and the hype that's going to be going over the next 2 days or so, the smoke. Recent reports are saying that the Washington football team looks like a likely contender to move up in the top 10 and get guy starts falling at QB. Now, what's your thoughts on that? You think there's anything to it?
I mean, there's always a possibility. I don't see it happening though, personally. That's just me, and I say that because you brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's your veteran presence. You re-signed Taylor Heineke for 2 years. You still have Kyle Allen under contract. You have Steven Montez, who was on the practice squad and did come back and suit up. The final two games last year, one being the playoff game. He would have been he was your backup for the playoff game. So, you have to think about that. If you have four guys that you feel that comfortable with at some point, they've all suited up, they all have been on the field. I just think that, you don't make the moves that they made to still try to bring in another quarterback, and you have some holes that you have to fill. Yeah, naturally, if a Justin Fields or the kid Wilson from BYU, if these guys fail, yeah, then it changes everyone's outlook in the draft, not just Washington, but other teams now might be like, wow, I wasn't expecting this. So yeah, that's obvious. If anybody who desperately needed a certain player and that player starts to fall, I'll say this. If Micah Parsons, and I'm Penn State dude all day, we are, by the way. If Micah Parsons starts to fall and he's sitting there at 13, 14, 15, yeah, you might see Washington trying to move up to grab him. That would make sense to me. But to just jump all the way up in the top 10 to grab a quarterback when you have some guys that are already serviceable on a team that had adequate quarterback play last year for 16 games. I'm talking about the same guy. Alex Smith was 5-1. We know that, but he was a shell of himself. He couldn't move. He wasn't mobile. Dwayne Haskins wasn't ready. So if they had a guy that was under center for 16 games, there's no doubt in my mind this team would have won 10 or 11 football games. So I just think they're going to see where they're at 19, unless something miraculous happens and they have to move up. They could, but I think they're going to be picking at 19 personally.
So that kind of actually brings into one of the questions from the viewers, right? Sports Only Talk asked, and you kind of answered this already, but at the same time, we'll give another stab at it. But Sports Only Talk asked, do you think Washington wants to trade up for Fields? So with that being said, I guess the key word is want. In your opinion, do you think that's something that they want to do is trade up for Fields?
I mean, again, this is my whole. That's why I'm not a GM because every year the NFL is going to give you 4 or 5 quarterbacks. I don't care who they are. They're going to shake a tree, and 5 quarterbacks are coming down in that top part of the draft, first round. Some of those guys may not even be warranted, but they're still going to do that. This is a quarterback league. It always has been. It always will be. So you're going to have 4 or 5 quarterbacks next year, probably 3 that nobody even knows of as we speak today. Yep. You go back just a month ago, no one knew who this kid from Stanford was. I mean, let's be upfront about this. So this is what happens with the league. They shake a tree, they get some quarterbacks. They need that. That's promotion. That's just the way this league is built. So if you're Washington, can you wait till next year? Is your defense is right there. That defense last year was a A- defense to me. Okay. If you get yourself a freak middle linebacker, and there's a couple in this draft, if you get one of them and you don't have to, shake up your draft picks, your tree, you can still pick at 19. Listen, that pay scale for that player ranges as well. They have a lot of cap room, but you still could create even more cap room if you stay at 19. So let's just see if the guy that's on your board happens to be around that time frame. Again, I think personally you have to, the magic number for Washington to look at is 13. If they get to 13 and you see some of these big name guys still on the board, you might see some maneuvering. But the way things are going, I don't think a Justin Fields is going to be falling. I know people keep saying Micah Parsons is going to fall. A lot of mocks have him going to Washington at 19. Anybody that passes on that guy, you're going to regret it. Trust me when I tell you, because he's a stud. He's a freak. I would love for him to fall to 19, because if they walk away from this draft with Micah Parsons, his impact will be the same as Chase Young's last year. It'll be that scary.
No,
Just a
like
thought.
I'm glad you mentioned that because especially with the Parsons thing, like I'm not too much of a big fan of going up too high for a QB, but if Parsons starts hitting what 14, 15 or something like that, I'm going right there and getting him. And the thing it's funny because like the last few years we went defenders in the first round, John Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, Chase Young. So back in those days, I was like, okay, so we drafted defense first. I want to start going offense heavy. But now I'm back to like, nah, if these premier defenders can, because the premier defenders in the draft, they don't, you can't find them all over the draft, kind of like how you can find a wide receiver all over the draft. Like, we got Terry McLaurin in the third round, Antonio Gibson in the third round. So I'm like, okay, I will trade up for a guy like a Parsons or even the cornerback J.C. Horn. I would go up for him a couple of spots as well. I mean, those are premier defenders you're talking about that you're probably not going to find in the third round. Whereas this is a deep wide receiver draft. This is, you can get a tight end, a wide receiver, second or third round. I'm all for it. But something else happened today. I did want to ask you about your opinion on the Eric Flowers move. Do you see that impacting the team's move, not only their draft moves, but is there a possibility that maybe Shurmur can get moved at any point before the season?
Yeah, I don't think Brandon will get moved at all. I mean, I think the long term is that they would love for him to be here. You bring in Eric Flowers, and it's almost a brilliant move in the sense that you're getting back one of your better linemen from a couple seasons ago now on the cheap. I mean, like really, you got him at a discount bargain rate, and he likes it here. I know Eric likes it here personally. I know he likes it here. He enjoyed his time here, but when you get a bag offer to you, you're gonna take it. And absolutely. To go back home, of course you're gonna do that. So, but I think these are the type of situations where Eric took he actually worked with Miami to make this trade happen to come back here. That tells you all you need to know about the culture that's here, about the way people on the outside are looking at this team and their trajectory. People are looking at this team as one of those up and coming teams that they kind of want to be a part of, now that it's starting to happen. New team name, all that stuff, it's a lot of changes going on here. So, for a player like that to want to come back here, that's a good sign for them. Does it affect their draft status? Not necessarily, because I don't think they were going to ever take a guard, and I doubt that they're going to contemplate moving Eric back to left tackle, because he struggled there a little bit when he was in New York at that position. I think guard is his natural position. To me, I think this is going to be curious to see what they do with Sadiq now, because Charles, he was from LSU, rookie last year, played in one game, got hurt. Initially, he was supposed to be the left tackle. So now they looked at it like maybe they can move him in the left guard, but you can't do that because you already had somebody there last year too, even before Eric. So now you have depth across the line. But more importantly, I think all these guys are interchangeable. I've been saying this for a long time, and Big Mo, that's my dude, Morgan Moses, that's my guy right there. I've been telling Morgan for years, man, why don't you go in there and just say, let me play left tackle and move to the other side. You can get paid.
Well, what is he saying?
I mean, Morgan's a team guy. He's like, man, I'm play wherever they want me to play. But I'm like, listen, you're getting older now, and that money's there at left tackle, and he did play some of that last year, and he actually played pretty well. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they don't know that in the building. I mean, come on now, I'm not stupid. I know they don't like me saying certain things, but that is known in the building. So you might see some things change this year. Trust me on that.
Okay. So a couple of more questions from some Skins Washington football fans out there. Skins fan, I don't know. It's a Twitch channel. We can say whatever. But just to circle back on Parsons, K-Bob. I'm assuming this is Kevin from Twitter, man. If that is you, what's up? Appreciate you for checking us out. But question is as follows: Lake, as a Penn State guy, what do you make of Micah Parsons' alleged off the field allegations? Is it just young mistakes or a pattern, or just something simply benign? Like what is your take on that situation there, if you have a take?
I do have a take on it, and sometimes people say you gotta be careful what you say. Listen, man, I have seen some things in the locker room, some bad things, but I didn't think that The people who were doing certain things were just awful people. I attribute the situation up there because, Yetur Gross Matos was part of this allegedly. No one talks about that. He was a first round draft pick last year. No one talks about him. And it's because Parsons is such a huge name in the state of Pennsylvania. I mean, this guy was a phenom. Signed with Penn State as a sophomore in high school, McDonald's All-America, whatever you want to call it, as a sophomore in high school. So that limelight's always been on him. And then to have this situation happen, the irony of it is the young man that alleged it happened, I went to Penn State with his dad. His dad played football at Penn State when I was there. And, it's an unfortunate situation. Some people say it's hazing, which is a red flag to a lot of people. But those are things that happen. They really do. And I don't want to make something like that come across as if the young man's just a horrible human being and those red flags are there, that he's not going to be coachable, he's not a team player. There's none of the above with that stuff. This guy was a dominant player at his position and was a generational talent. But as you guys know, in NFL circles, things come up, and some people use those things to hold people's their draft status there. But then hey, Mac Jones, had some DUIs, but I don't hear much about those things.
I don't hear a damn thing about it. And you're probably only like the second or third person I've heard bring it up. Like, just even me reading or listening, you're probably like the second or third person that brought it up.
Right. So all I hear about him is how great his leadership qualities are, and he's a great kid, and he probably is. I'm not here to say either way, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a great kid and he's a leader. I mean, Parsons, same thing. I didn't see any DUIs. I didn't see any off the field technical stuff like that. I mean, what happened in their football building, with a teammate. So again, I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm just saying that before we start labeling kids, as treating them like grown adults, I will say this: Parsons has a daughter. That was one of the reasons why he decided not to play this past year because of COVID, just to be, family and train and get ready for the league. So, let's put all the stories out there if we're going to put some of them out there about the young man.
For sure. And secondly, Disco mentioned, this is a comment, and I guess we can all have an opinion on it at the same time too. So this is a comment based on the quarterback part, right? There's a 0 chance Ron Rivera comes out of this draft without the quarterback of his defense. Oh, see, I tried to lead. I tried to do a little good leading, and I messed up. So he's talking about defense. He's agreeing with you in terms of the Parsons part. So you mentioned 13 being the sweet spot. And he's mentioning there's a 0 chance that Ron Rivera comes out of this draft without the quarterback of his defense. Which is
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Because there's other guys. I mean, Zaven Collins isn't a guy that you could look at from Tulsa. Jamin Davis from Kentucky. Remember that kid? I mean, he's another athletic marvel. I mean, 6'3", 234, 42-inch vertical. I mean, 4.4 speed at that linebacker spot. So you can plug any of those guys behind that front four, and they're going to be able to wreak some havoc if they have that athletic ability. And Cole Holcomb's my dude, but that's a guy that can make, when he's in position, he's really good.
Yes. But
when you lack supreme athletic ability at times, sometimes those mistakes kind of show themselves. I'm a John Bostic fan too, but if they can get themselves another just upper echelon elite middle linebacker to play with that front four that they have, and I always say a front five because keep in mind, Matt Ioannidis will be back too. So, I mean, man, they're going to be feasting all over the place. And you get the kid Jackson from Cincinnati, top corner coming back. I mean, they've got an opportunity to they get that quarterback for that defense in the middle, it's going to get ugly.
For sure.
I mean, for me, I got a question. One more thing on for me. Speaking of the defense and moving parts on defense, what do you make of the whole Landon Collins situation with this position change talk from Rivera?
Man, I mean, listen, I think I took some slack for this last year, but I call it like I see it. Landon wasn't playing that well. I mean, he just wasn't. I mean, maybe certain factors played into that, schemes, things like that, learning a scheme, a new scheme with Jack Del Rio. But I saw Cam Curl come in and just it was to the ceiling from that point. They
Yeah.
just the defense took off, and there's no way, if I'm coaching, there's no way I'm giving Cam Curl's job back to anybody. I don't care who it is. That guy solidified himself as their starting strong safety. And in my opinion, Jeremy Reeves solidified himself as the starting free safety. I'm comfortable with those two young guys back there manning the backfield on defense. I am. I think with Landon, his best games are when he's close to the box. He's more of a hybrid type, one of those back a couple years back. There was like the Mark Barons of the world. He's a hybrid guy. You put him close to the line of scrimmage. You play him almost like a fourth linebacker, and let him do some things there. But they're giving him a lot of money, and if the grumblings that I hear that he doesn't want to switch positions, you may not have a choice. You may not have a choice, or you're going to see yourself being a backup to someone that took your job.
So now, first off, I agree. And he's in a situation where you've already stated, he's in a situation where, look, the injury did you no favors. You didn't look good essentially before you got hurt. On top of that, in the off season, I mean, this is what people do, is their job, right? But in the offseason, he's saying like this scheme does numbers for him in his game. It just makes him better. But and then week one starts, and you know how it unfolds. It's not
Right.
necessarily, it didn't necessarily look too good for Landon. So he's kind of pinched. And so I agree in that aspect. Like, if Ron says, like he said, those are Landon's words. If Ron comes to him, or the team comes to him and tries to, say, I think we should consider you at linebacker, or you should consider it, it's not necessarily a consideration. It's like, bro, we need you to play linebacker.
Nah, and there's no consideration. It'll be, listen, the only way you're gonna get on the field, for the kind of time that you want, you're gonna have to switch positions. You're gonna have to do something else, because this young kid back here is my man. I mean, this is my guy right now, and you saw the defense take another step when Reeves and Curl were back
Yes,
there. You
sir.
saw it in the Dallas game tenfold. You saw it in that Dallas game. Before any Cowboy people out there say Dak wasn't playing, listen, man, stop. The bottom line is they were making plays out there, and I saw Cam Curl get better in his pass coverage as the season went along as well. So you started to see him start to elevate his game in other aspects, and it's just going to be nice to see where he is in the year two of his growth. I wouldn't move him at all, though, at all. But for Landon, it might have to be a tough conversation. It might have to be even, we might have to look for a mutual partner to trade you to, or something like that. But coming off of an Achilles injury, trust me, I know, because I ruptured my Achilles. It's not the same. It's going to take some time to get back to where you want to be. That's not knocking Landon. I don't want anyone to say I'm knocking him,
For
but
sure. We
you're
understand.
coming off an injury, and now you're going to have to prove to people that you can get back to the level where you were when you made the Pro Bowl in New York. And the irony is, you weren't playing at that level here since you came to Washington.
For sure. So, Lake, you've been great with your time, man. We have two more questions on our end, and then we have, I think we got one more fan question. And like I said, you've been great with your time, man. I honestly, to be honest with you,
Appreciate it.
Dre, this might actually end up being the episode. We may do like a couple of the mock drafts, but Lake has been great, man. So the two questions on our end, right? What is your top roster spot, or top roster void, excuse me, that you think Washington must fill when the draft is all said and done? If it can be a position, well, that's literally it. But what position or roster void do you think Washington must fill by the end of this draft when it's all said and done?
Personally, I mean, we've been talking about it all night. It's middle linebacker to me. It really is. The defense can get by without it. They still can be one of the top, five best units in football. They were number 3 last year without that. But you saw in certain games, the middle of the field was where everybody attacked that defense. That's just every game where they had problems, it was the middle of the field was just being exposed. So you need somebody that can patrol the middle of that field, and it would take this defense to another level. If they can get that, the defense alone can win you 4 or 5 games alone. And now you have more adequate weapons on offense with Samuels and Fitzpatrick. They should be able to do some things if they can get that position. So for me, it's middle linebacker.
And lastly, we gotta go back to quarterback, right? Because everybody loves to talk about the position, despite what they may do in the draft at quarterback. It's 17 games this year, so do you see Fitz being that guy for 2021? Injury aside, we're not talking about or barring injury, excuse me. Is Fitz the 17 game starter for the Washington football team in 2021?
Let me say this, and with all due respect, I'm not saying today that Ryan Fitzpatrick's guaranteed to be the starting quarterback. I still think Taylor Heinicke's going to have some say in this thing. But I will say this, whoever is named the starting quarterback, there will be no intent to be playing musical chairs at that position. Whoever is named week 1 starting quarterback, the intent's going to be for that person to carry them all through the season. So to get back to it, if it is Fitzpatrick, yes, I expect for him to start every game. If it's Heinicke, I expect for him to start every game because you don't want to play that game, that musical game. I do think, somebody gave me a truth serum. Yes, I do think Fitzpatrick's your starting quarterback. And I'll say this, name the best defense Fitzpatrick ever played with. We're on the opposite side of the ball. They were shortening the field for him. On the opposite side of the ball, they were giving him turnovers where he wasn't having to drive the ball 90 yards because he was playing on bad teams. This is the best defense he has ever played with. I mean, this will be his 18th, 19th season. You can look up the stats and tell me this will be the best defense he plays with. And if they get that home run middle linebacker, it definitely will be the best defense he plays with. And he's not going to be having to throw for 400 yards a game. It'll be none of that. He'll just have to manage the games, throw the ball deep on occasion, and get some W's.
Now, I will say this is a little give and take, right? So 2015, because I talk about this, somebody else asked it. The Jets was a really good defense in 2015. But to your point, they went 10-6 that year. So they were still good, but they just couldn't. They just 10-6, and then you got the Patriots.
In the division with 10.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say they played with a team that was always there with Tom Brady. Sorry, I mean.
Yep. So as good as it gets, they still couldn't do enough. But 10 games is still really good, especially with a really good defense. So to your point, he didn't have to do much then, and they still found a way to win 10 games with a really good defense led by Todd Bowles at the head coaching position. Okay, so the fan question or football fan question. Kevin asked, or he stated, it's about receivers. Some have said this draft could be setting the table for who will take over in the future, like acquiring weapons. Obviously, if Devontae Smith will fall, it would be difficult to pass on his talent. But would a receiver like Rashad Bateman open the other side of the field for Terry, like as a Keenan Allen type? Like, what's your opinion on like a preference? Devontae Smith, Rashad Bateman. Where are you at with those two, and what fits Terry best, his skill set?
Yeah, I mean they're both really, really good. Whoever wrote that, they obviously know their stuff because a lot of people aren't mentioning Rashad Bateman too often. And to me, Rashad Bateman is like an Art Monk type. I mean, he's a big receiver that can get you some 50-50 balls, and to me personally, that's exactly what this offense needs because, you have Curtis Samuel now, and Curtis Samuels is I mean, he's not small from a weight standpoint. I mean, he's rocked up, but from a height standpoint, he's not tall. And you have Kelvin Harmon, another name that people have to remember. They forgot about him. Had a really nice rookie campaign, and then he tore his ACL. So he's still working his way back. So you can't put a whole lot on his recovery at this point. So I think this team does need a possession receiver, a big, nice target, that can move on the outside and do some damage. So if Bateman's sitting there at 19, that's a possibility. I mean, I definitely think that would be a possibility. Another kid that I like is the kid Marshall from LSU. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yep.
another big receiver. But see, those guys are guys that Bateman should be gone in the first round, but you possibly could find one of these other receivers in the second, third round. I agree with what we were talking about earlier. If you have a freak sitting there, somebody that was supposed to be a top 10 pick, you got to get them. You got to find a way to walk out the draft with them. If it's a receiver and there's several in this year's draft, I mean, you can get really nice players. The kid from USC, I'm going brain dead. It has like three-part name.
You talking about the tackle? I mean the guard.
Don't know, wide receiver.
Oh, wide receiver. Dude,
Amon Ra. Amon Ra. That's his last name. Yeah. If you look him up, he's all Pac-12.
Oh,
He's a
Amon
really
Ra
good
St.
receiver.
Brown. Kevin Order, same
There
guy.
we go. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Very good receiver. He's probably going to be picked in the third round. So that's what I'm saying. You don't have to reach at this pick. This pick has to be something that's a slam dunk for you. But yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Bateman, though. I will say that I'm a Big Ten guy, so I'm a fan all day.
I watched Bateman. I got the guy Tyler. I think Tyler Johnson the year before he got drafted to the Bucks. Man, I really like those two. Man, they stood out. Like anytime you popped on a Minnesota game, they stood out.
Right.
All right. So Lake, man, before we get up out of here, go ahead and I know we plugged you in earlier when the show started, but if there's anything else you'd like to plug or reiterate, man, this is the time for you to do it. The floor is yours, boss, man. Tell them where they can find you, what else you got going on, all these type of things.
Yeah, man, you can find me on social media, on Twitter, Lake Lewis, Instagram, Facebook, Lake Lewis Jr. Obviously on sportsjourney.com. Check out everybody else that's with me. They're great work on Sports Journey. Doing a great job, like I said, covering all the local sports teams here in the area. And then check out the podcast, After Practice with Lake Lewis. I've been saying for the longest time I'm going to start making it a daily thing. I'm almost going to have to now with some sponsors coming on. So, I just venture to say, let me get through this draft, and then I'll be back in the fold, and you'll see me back more on social media and all those things. But I appreciate all the support, and I see you doing your thing, and I remember I talked at training camp a couple years back, and just keep grinding, man. Keep grinding and lean on the people who want to help. I'm one of those people. So, lean on the people that want to help, and it's not a big deal to us, to help. It's something that should have been done for us, but as I say, suckers be suckers at times. So now those are the people that call me. Nope, no, I'm not interested. So let's just keep doing your grind.
For sure, man. I appreciate the kind words. I've been going through a lot, man. I spoke with Kyle too, and Kyle understands the things that he's man. He is top tier, bro, and he understands the things that I go through too. And the people that I've tried to talk to and he's tried to help me out with and things fell through for XYZ reasons, man. So I definitely appreciate that. And then obviously we appreciate that here on this new venture, man. Twitch is kind of a new unfound area in the skins community. So I'm taking my stab out here. And I want to bring, obviously I got Dre along, and you're actually the first beat reporter on here. So it was really important that I reached out to you first, because it was going to set the tone the right way. So I definitely appreciate you joining us for the pre-draft pod, but also the first reporter to join the show, man. It was definitely something special, man. Appreciate you.
All right, anytime, man. Anytime you guys need me, just let me know. I'm here.
Yes, sir. Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you, Lake.
All right, take care.
All
man.
right, boss. Take care, man. Appreciate you. All right. Here we go. All right, y'all. Where we at? We are at 50. I think we started like 55 minutes or something like that. So that was a really long time with Lake, and in a good way. He gave us Dakota. Why are you biting my chair? He gave us quality